If someone had told me that a single evening could unravel 10 years of marriage, I would have laughed in their face. But here I am, trying to piece together how everything fell apart. It all started with a single text from Anna earlier that week. Company dinner Friday night. Bring your best suit. That's it. No smiley faces, no excitement, just a cold directive. At first, I didn't think much of it. She's always been the official one in our relationship, the planner, the one who keeps everything running smoothly. But there was something in the way she avoided eye contact all week. Something in the way she rushed through her sentences that should have raised alarms. Friday came faster than I expected. I threw on my best navy suit, adjusted my tie, and waited for Anna to finish getting ready. When she finally emerged from the bedroom, I was speechless. She looked different. Her dress, a bold red number I'd never seen before, clung to her in a way that felt almost performative. Her makeup was heavier than usual, and there was a spark in her eyes that felt foreign to me. Not joy, not excitement, but something I couldn't quite place. "You ready?" she asked casually, grabbing her clutch and heading toward the door without waiting for an answer. I followed her to the car, my gut twisting slightly. Something was off, but I convinced myself I was over. After all, this was her night, her world. And I was just there to support her. The venue was a sleek, modern banquet hall downtown, buzzing with laughter and the clinking of glasses. Anna immediately drifted into the crowd, introducing me to coworkers, whose names I couldn't remember 2 seconds later. She was in her element, radiant and confident, while I stood awkwardly at the edges, nursing a glass of wine and nodding along to conversations that didn't include me. About an hour in, I noticed, Anna had disappeared. I scanned the room, expecting to find her chatting with a group of colleagues or laughing at some joke. Instead, I saw her across the room, standing close to a man I didn't recognize. He was tall, impeccably dressed, and had that easy, self-assured charm that instantly made my stomach churn. Anna's hand rested lightly on his forearm as she leaned in, her laugh floating above the hum of the crowd. For a moment, I froze, my mind racing with excuses. Maybe he's a coworker. Maybe they're discussing work. Maybe this is nothing. But deep down, I knew better. Then, as if in slow motion, I saw it. He leaned in, his lips brushing against hers, and she didn't pull away. The world around me went silent. My heart pounded in my chest, and every nerve in my body screamed at me to do something. Before I knew it, my legs were moving, carrying me across the room toward them. They didn't notice me at first. It wasn't until I was standing right in front of them that Anna's eyes widened in shock. "What the hell is this?" I demanded, my voice cutting through the chatter around us. The man stepped back, his smug expression faltering. Anna looked at me, her face pale, and before I could say another word, I spat out, "You just broke our marriage." Response, a quiet, steady, "You're wrong." Those 2 words hit me harder than anything else she could have said. They weren't defensive. They weren't apologetic. They were almost calculated. Before I could process it, she turned and walked away, leaving me standing there alone in the middle of a crowd of strangers. And just like that, everything I thought I knew about my life shattered. I didn't move for what felt like an eternity. My legs were frozen, my hands trembling, and my heart pounding so loudly I thought everyone around me could hear it. The room, once vibrant with laughter and conversation, now felt like a hollow void. When I finally snapped out of my daze, I realized people were staring, whispering. A few sympathetic glances were thrown my way, but most looked away, pretending they hadn't just witnessed the most humiliating moment of my life. I stumbled out of the banquet hall, desperate for air. The cool night breeze hit my face, but it did little to calm the storm inside me, and my mind raced with questions. What did she mean by "you're wrong"? Was she trying to deny what just happened, or was there something else I didn't know? I pulled out my phone and dialed Anna's number. It rang twice before going straight to voicemail. I clenched my jaw and tried again. Same result. The third time the call didn't even ring. It went directly to voicemail. I stood there on the sidewalk, feeling the weight of everything pressing down on me. Then I made a decision. I wasn't going to let her dismiss this. I wasn't going to go home and sit in silence waiting for her to explain. I was going to find her and demand the truth. I went back inside, scanning the room for any sign of her. The man she had kissed was gone too. My stomach sank further. Are they together right now? Did they leave together? I spotted one of her coworkers, a woman named Emily, who I'd briefly been introduced to earlier in the evening. She seemed friendly enough, so I approached her. "Have you seen Anna?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Emily hesitated, glancing around nervously. I think she stepped outside, maybe near the parking lot. Did she leave with anyone?" I pressed, my eyes searching hers for any hint of the truth. Emily's expression faltered for a moment before she quickly shook her head. "No, I don't think so. I didn't believe her." I turned and headed toward the parking lot, the knot in my stomach tightening with every step. The dimly lit area was nearly empty, but in the far corner, I spotted Anna's car. My breath hitched when I saw two figures standing beside it. It was Anna and him. They were talking in hushed voices, their bodies turned toward each other. Looked tense, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. He leaned in closer, his hands gesturing as if trying to explain something. I felt a surge of anger course through me. Without thinking, I stormed toward them. "Anna," I called out, my voice echoing through the empty lot. Both of them turned to face me. Their expressions a mix of shock and something else I couldn't quite place. Guilt? Fear? "What's going on here?" I demanded, my voice trembling with anger. The man stepped back, raising his hands as if to say he wasn't a part of this anymore. "Look, man, this isn't what it looks like," he said, his tone annoyingly calm. I snapped, pointing a finger at him. "Don't you dare tell me what I just saw isn't what it looks like." Anna stepped forward, her face pale, but her eyes strangely defiant. "It's not what you think," she said, her voice low. I let out a bitter laugh. "Oh, really? Because from where I'm standing it looks like you were kissing another man at a party. You insisted I come too? So Anna, please enlighten me. What exactly am I misunderstanding?" She hesitated, glancing at the man, who quickly muttered something about giving us space and walked off. Now it was just the two of us. "Talk," I said, my voice colder than I'd ever heard it. Anna took a deep breath, her hands fidgeting with the hem of her dress. "I didn't want you to find out like this," she began. "Find out what?" I snapped. "That you've been cheating on me? How long has this been going on, Anna?" Her eyes filled with tears, but I wasn't moved. "It's not like that," she said. "You don't understand, then help me understand," shouted, cutting her off. She fell silent, her eyes darting around as if searching for the right words. Then finally, she said something that made my blood run cold. "This isn't just about us." "What the hell does that mean?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She looked at me with an expression I couldn't decipher: regret, sadness, pity. "There are things you don't know, things I never told you because I thought I was protecting you. But now," she trailed off, shaking her head. I stared at her, my mind racing with possibilities. What could she possibly mean? What was she hiding? And why did it feel like my entire life was about to change? I wanted answers, but something in her tone told me that the truth was going to hurt far more than anything I'd imagined. Anna stood there, silent, as if weighing whether to tell me something or keep it buried forever. Her hesitation only fueled my anger. I wasn't about to let her walk away without explaining what had just happened. "Anna, stop playing games," I said, my voice colder than I'd ever heard it. "What do you mean? This isn't just about us. What exactly have you been hiding from me?" She flinched like my words physically hit her, but then she straightened her back and looked me directly in the eyes. "I never wanted you to find out like this," she said quietly. "Find out what, Anna?" I pressed, stepping closer. "That you've been sneaking around with someone behind my back? That you've been lying to me for God knows how long? Or is there more to this circus act that you're trying to keep hidden?" Tears started to well up in her eyes, but I wasn't falling for it this time. Over the years, I'd seen her cry, and I'd been the one to comfort her, to reassure her when life got tough. But this was different. This time her tears felt manipulative, like they were meant to deflect from the truth. Finally, she took a deep breath and said, "It's not what you think. Then spell it out for me." I shouted, my voice echoing in the empty parking lot. "'Cause right now, Anna, it looks like my wife's kissing some random guy at her company event and telling me that I'm somehow wrong for being upset about it." She looked down at the ground, her hands trembling as she clutched her purse. For a moment I thought she wasn't going to say anything, but then, in a voice barely above a whisper, she said, "His name is Eric." "Eric?" I repeated, trying to piece it together. Who the hell is Eric, and why is he kissing my wife at a corporate dinner? She hesitated again, then finally looked up at me. Her face was a mixture of guilt and something else I couldn't place. "He's someone I used to know." "Someone you used to know?" I laughed bitterly. "Anna, you kissed him in front of me. It doesn't scream used to know. That screams you're involved with him. So don't give me half-truths. Tell me everything." She hesitated, but I could see the cracks forming. Her resolve was breaking, and I knew I had to push harder. "How long?" I asked, my voice steadier, but filled with venom. "How long have you been seeing him?" Anna shook her head, tears now streaming down her face. "It's complicated," she said. "Complicated." I scoffed. "No, Anna, it's actually really simple. Either you've been cheating on me, or you haven't. Which is it?" Her silence was deafening. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, she said, "It's not like that. Eric isn't just some random guy." I felt my stomach drop. Her tone, it wasn't defensive, it wasn't dismissive. It was full of something deeper, something darker. "What does that mean?" I asked, my voice quieter now. She looked away, her hands trembling as she wiped at her tears. "He's from my past," she said. "Before you and I met." I frowned. "So what? He's some old boyfriend. Why would you still be in contact with him? And why the hell would you let him kiss you?" Her next words knocked the air out of my lungs. "He's not just an old boyfriend," she said, her voice shaking. "He's someone I thought I'd never see again. Someone I thought was gone forever." The way she said it sent a chill down my spine. There was something more to this, something she wasn't telling me. "Nah," I said, stepping closer. "You're not making any sense. Who is he to you? Why was he here tonight?" She looked at me, her eyes filled with pain. She started, but then stopped herself. "Say it," I demanded. She took another deep breath, then finally said, "He's my ex-fiancé." The words hit me like a freight train. Ex-fiancé. She had never once mentioned being engaged before me. We'd been together for 10 years, married for 7, and she had never even hinted at a relationship that serious in her past. "I didn't tell you because I didn't think it mattered," she continued, her voice cracking. "I thought he was gone. He disappeared from my life years ago. I never expected to see him again. And then he showed up at my office a few weeks ago." I stared at her, trying to process what she was saying. "So what? He shows up, and you just fall back into his arms. Is that what happened, Anna?" "No," she said quickly, shaking her head. "It wasn't like that. I didn't want anything to do with him, but he wouldn't leave me alone. Kept showing up, saying he needed to talk to me, that he had something important to tell me." "Wait, you believed him?" I asked, my voice filled with disbelief. "I didn't know what to do," she cried. "I didn't want to tell you because I thought it would just cause problems. I thought I could handle it on my own. But then tonight, he kissed me, and you saw, and everything just spiraled out of control." I shook my head, unable to believe what I was hearing. "So you're telling me this whole thing started because your ex-fiancé decided to waltz back into your life, and you didn't think to tell me?" Her silence was all the confirmation I needed. But then she said something that stopped me in my tracks. "He told me something," she said quietly. "What?" I asked, my patience wearing thin. She hesitated, then looked me straight in the eyes. "He said there's something I need to tell you about us." My blood ran cold. "What are you talking about?" "I can't say it," she whispered. "Not here, not now." Her words sent a wave of panic through me. What could she possibly mean by that? What could Eric have told her that she was so afraid to say out loud? I had no idea what was coming. But I knew one thing for sure. This was far from over. The drive home was silent, and the tension between us was unbearable. Anna sat in the passenger seat, staring out the window as if the streetlights held the answers to questions she couldn't face. My knuckles were white on the steering wheel, My jaw clenched so tightly it hurt. I didn't say a word, waiting for her to speak, to explain, to say anything, but she didn't. When we pulled into the driveway, she made a move to get out of the car, but I stopped her. "We're not walking into that house until you tell me what's going on," I said firmly. Her hand froze on the door handle. She didn't turn to look at me, but I could see the rise and fall of her chest as she tried to steady her breathing. "I can't do this here," she whispered. "Then where?" I snapped. "When, Anna? You've been keeping secrets from me, and now you're telling me there's something about us that I don't know. You owe me the truth. Right here, right now." She sighed heavily, then leaned back against the seat, still refusing to meet my eyes. "It's not what you think," she said, her voice trembling. "I'm so tired of hearing that," I shot back. "What do I think, Anna? My wife has been sneaking around with her ex-fiancé. You've been lying to me for weeks, months, maybe? What? Everything we've built together is a lie. If that's not what I'm supposed to think, then tell me what the hell is really going on." Her head dropped, and for a moment, I thought she wouldn't answer. But then she took a deep breath and finally turned to face me. Her eyes were red, tears threatening to spill over, but her voice was steady when she spoke. "Eric isn't just my ex-fiancé," she said quietly. He's connected to something I never told you about." "What does that mean?" I asked, my stomach tightening. She hesitated again, then said, "Before I met you, Eric and I were engaged. We were together for years, and I thought we were going to spend the rest of our lives together. But then one day, he disappeared. No note, no goodbye, nothing. He just vanished. I was devastated. I didn't know why he left or what I'd done to push him away. I frowned, trying to process what she was saying. "And you never told me this because... Because... It didn't matter anymore," she said quickly. "By the time I met you, I'd moved on." I thought he was gone for good. But then he showed up at my office a few weeks ago, and he told me something I wasn't prepared to hear. I leaned forward, my heart pounding. "What did he tell you, Anna?" She looked away, biting her lip. "He said the reason he left all those years ago was because... because of my father." Got off guard. "Your father? What does he have to do with this?" She took another deep breath, her voice shaking as she continued. "He said my father threatened him, told him to stay away. From me, Eric said my dad was hiding something. Something about me, about my family, and that he left to protect me. I didn't believe him at first, but then he showed me proof." "Why would Eric say this is about us?" I asked. She hesitated again, then said, "Because he thinks my dad's secret involves you too." My heart stopped. "What?" "I don't know how," she said quickly. "But Eric is convinced that whatever my dad was hiding, it somehow connects to you and me. He said it's the reason he came back, because he thinks you deserve to know the truth." I leaned back in my seat, my mind racing. None of this made sense. What could her father possibly have been hiding that would involve me? And why was Eric so determined to drag it all up now? I looked at Anna, my anger momentarily overshadowed by confusion. "What do we do now?" I asked, my voice quieter. She wiped her tears and said, "We need to talk to my father." I stared at her, my stomach churning. The man had always been distant, cold, and calculating, but I never imagined he'd be involved in something like this. Still, if he had answers, I wasn't going to let him keep them from me. "Fine," I said, starting the car again. "Let's go." As I pulled out of the driveway, I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever we were about to uncover was going to change. Everything. The drive to Anna's parents' house was tense, the silence between us heavy with unspoken fears. Anna sat rigid in the passenger seat, her hands tightly clasped together. I could feel her anxiety radiating off her, but I couldn't bring myself to comfort her. Not after everything. When we arrived, the house loomed before us, its warm glow, feeling anything but inviting. Anna hesitated at the door, her hand hovering over the doorbell. "Are you sure about this?" she asked softly. "Do we have a choice?" I replied, my voice firm. She pressed the button, and within moments her father opened the door. His sharp features and piercing gaze were as intimidating as ever. But there was something else in his eyes, something that looked a lot like guilt. "Anna, what are you doing here so late?" he asked, his tone cool and controlled. "We need to talk," she said, her voice trembling slightly. His eyes flicked to me, then back to her. "About what?" "Eric," I said bluntly, watching as his expression faltered for the briefest moment. He stepped aside, motioning for us to come in. "This sounds serious," he said, closing the door behind us. We sat in the living room, the air thick with tension. Anna's father poured himself a glass of whiskey, his hands steady, despite the weight of the conversation that was about to unfold. "Start talking," I said, breaking the silence. "Why did you threaten Eric? What are you hiding?" He took a long sip of his drink before setting the glass down. "I suppose there's no point in denying it," he said, his voice low. Anna leaned forward, her eyes wide. "Dad, what's going on?" "What's the truth Eric keeps talking about?" Her father sighed heavily, looking older than I'd ever seen him. "There are things you don't know, Anna. Things I did to protect you." "What?" "Protect me from what?" she demanded. "From him," he said, his voice sharp. "Eric wasn't who you thought he was. He had secrets of his own, dangerous secrets. I told him to leave because I didn't want you getting caught up in his mess." "What kind of mess?" I asked, my patience wearing thin. He hesitated, his gaze shifting between us. "Now it's complicated," he said finally. "Stop saying that," Anna snapped, her voice breaking. "Just tell us the truth." Her father's face hardened, and for a moment I thought he wouldn't answer. But then he said, "Eric was involved in something illegal, something that could have destroyed him and you if it ever came to light." Anna's eyes filled with tears. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I didn't think you could handle it," he said quietly, "and because I didn't want it to ruin your life." The room fell silent as we tried to process his words, but something about his explanation didn't sit right with me. There was more to this story, of that I was certain. I was determined to uncover it. Anna's hands were shaking as she stared at her father. "You're lying," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "You're not telling us everything." Her father's jaw tightened. "I've told you what you need to know." I leaned forward, my anger boiling over. "No, you told us just enough to make yourself look like the hero, but I don't buy it. If Eric was so dangerous, why did he come back now? Why would he risk seeing Anna again if you scared him off years ago?" Her father sighed, rubbing a hand over his face. "Because he thinks he has something to prove." "To who?" I demanded. "To you," he said, looking straight at me. I froze. "He came back for you," he repeated, his voice slow and deliberate. "Not Anna, not me, you." I felt like the air had been knocked out of me. That made no sense. I had never met Eric before tonight. He was Anna's past, not mine. "What the hell are you talking about?" I asked, my voice colder now. Her father hesitated, then stood up, pacing the room. "There's something you don't know, something neither of you knows. And if Eric is trying to dig it up, then you're both in danger." Anna shot up from her seat. "Then tell us the truth, Dad," she cried. "Stop playing games and just say it." He stopped pacing and looked at me, his expression unreadable. Then, after a long silence, he said, "Your family isn't who you think they are." I felt my stomach drop. What the hell does that mean? His grip tightened around his glass. "It means that Eric wasn't just involved in something illegal. He was the secret. And your family, they were the ones who covered it up." The room spun. My mind raced with possibilities, but none of them made sense. Anna looked at me, her face pale. "What is he saying?" she whispered. I had no answer, but deep down I knew one thing. This was bigger than just a cheating scandal. I was about to find out just how deep it went. The room felt like it was closing in. My mind scrambled to make sense of what Anna's father had just said. "My family," I repeated, my voice hollow. "Oh, what the hell do they have to do with this?" Anna's father sighed, running a hand over his face. "I didn't want to tell you like this," he muttered. "Then maybe you should have told me years ago," I snapped. "Because right now, I'm standing in your house finding out that my entire life has been built on lies." Anna sat frozen beside me, her breathing uneven. "Dad, just tell us the whole truth," she pleaded. "No more half-explanations. No more cryptic warnings. Everything." Her father hesitated for a long moment before finally speaking. "Years ago," he began, "your father, He turned to me, his eyes locking onto mine, and I were business partners. I blinked, caught off guard. What? I knew him before you were even born, he continued. Back then, we were involved in, let's just say, risky ventures. But one day something happened. A deal went bad, people got hurt, and your father made a choice. I clenched my jaw. What kind of choice? He exhaled sharply. To protect himself, he turned someone over. A chill crawled down my spine. Oh, Anna's. Father hesitated, then said, Eric's family. My stomach dropped. Anna gasped, covering her mouth. Wait, you mean? Yes, her father interrupted. Yes. Eric's father went to prison because of yours, and his family lost everything. I shook my head. Unable to process what I was hearing? That doesn't make sense. My father's never mentioned any of this. Not once. Because he erased it, he said bluntly. Buried it so deep that even you didn't know. I felt sick. My whole life I had looked up to my father, believing he was a man of integrity, a man who built himself from the ground up. Now, I was being told he had destroyed another family to save himself. I looked at Anna, who was just as shaken. This is why Eric came back, she whispered. Not because of me, because of you. I swallowed hard, my hands clenched into fists. So what does he want? Her father's face darkened. Revenge. The word hit me like a bullet. Eric had spent years in the shadows waiting for his chance, and now he had it. And worst of all, I had no idea what he was planning next. Everything made sense now, the way Eric had reappeared out of nowhere, the way Anna had been drawn back into his orbit, the kiss I had witnessed. It was never about rekindling an old flame. It was about revenge, about making me feel the kind of pain his family had endured because of mine. Anna's father leaned forward, his expression grave. I don't think you understand how dangerous this is. I clenched my fists. Oh, I understand. Eric didn't just want to take my wife. He wanted to destroy my life from the inside out. And the worst part? He almost did. Anna let out a shaky breath. Dad, why didn't you ever tell me this? Why did I have to find out like this? Her father hesitated, because I thought it was over. I thought Eric was gone, that he had moved on. But when I saw his name pop up again, I knew I had made a mistake. And I knew he'd find his way back to you. I ran a hand over my face. So what now? What does he want? Her father's lips pressed into a thin line. If it were just about making you suffer, he would have done it already. He's not after money. He's not just after Anna. He's after something bigger. The realization hit me like a freight train, my father, I said. Anna's father nodded slowly. Yes, Eric wants to take down your father, just like your father took down his. Anna gasped. But he's an old man now. He's retired. What could Eric possibly do to him? He doesn't need to do anything to him, I said, my voice low. He just needs to bring out the truth, expose what my father did, drag everything into the light. And if that happened, my family's entire legacy would crumble. My father would lose everything. Anna grabbed my hand. What do we do? I looked at her at the fear in her eyes. For years I had lived in blissful ignorance, believing my life was built on solid ground. But now the cracks were showing, and I had a choice to make. Let Eric destroy my family, or beat him to it. I took a deep breath, steadied myself, and made my decision. We find him, I said,